of our Lord Jesus Christ, I command you to give me your name.
And cut. Nice job, everybody. Good job.
I gotta take that.
Follow monitors, let me lead.
All right, everybody, here we go. 3, 2.
Time to go off script.
Hey, Damien. You there?
Hi, Dan. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you today?
Great. Doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
Glad we can finally meet up because I actually, congrats on your Shudder premiere first.
Thank you.
I actually caught the film last year at Fantastic Fest, and it was like one of my
cool.
surprises because I saw the film and I sat down not knowing anything about it, and it surprised me because of like how just fun it was and how like bombastic it was. And I've been talking about it like all year, like, you know, there was, you know, between the Mortuary Collection and this, I was like, there's 2 films you got to check out that just came out of nowhere. So, I mean, it's great that we finally, because I think we even tried to set something up on Twitter at the time, but then, you know, other things got in the way. But now, you know, it's great that I'm still getting to support your film.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate the kind words, and I'm glad we were able to connect here.
So the Cleansing Hour started off as a short. What was it about it that made you want to expand it into a feature?
Well, it was actually always intended to be a proof of concept for the feature film. So I wrote it and then and filmed it as a way of, you know, showing financiers and production companies what I would do with a full-length movie, and it ended up, you know, working out. You know, it won a lot of awards, and we took it to big festivals around the world, and that really kind of helped sell the idea of expanding it into a feature.
So I really love the social media premise of it. Like, how did you come up with that?
Well, I think that it really started came from my history in working in reality TV. I've been editing for about 15 years and spent a lot of time in reality TV, and just been fascinated by like the way people think that it's real when it really is far from it, you know. And I was similarly fascinated by, you know, videos and websites that post videos of, you know, shaky, grainy cell phone footage that somehow lends itself to verite or being more believable because it's shaky and grainy, because it was, you know, it was shot by someone who was there, which, you know, that could be fake too, of course. So I sort of combined those 2 things, and with my love of exorcism horror, and just thought, hey, what if these 2 guys who were trying to get, you know, attention with fake exorcisms and their grainy, you know, video, or, you know, online, what if it all went wrong? And that's kind of what how it came about.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of films about exorcisms, and I sort of love the rules you set up here with the demon possession and how the name angle sort of works. What sort of thought and research was put into the mythology of the film, and what sort of films influenced the Cleansing Hour?
Well, I'll start with your second question. You know, I'm of course influenced by like all the great exorcism horror films, you know, of cinema history, starting of course with The Exorcist, but then also, you know, Scott Derrickson's been very influential on me with The Exorcism of Emily Rose and Deliver Us from Evil. And I also really love James Wan and his movies, and I also quite enjoyed the Last Exorcism. But also, you know, I've been really influenced by, you know, the great horror films that utilize practical effects from the 80s and 90s, everything from, you know, The Thing to Gremlins and, you know, American Werewolf in London. And I really, and Alien, you know, any of these movies that rely on practical effects and accomplish it so well. was a big influence on me. As far as like the research that went into demons and demonology and rules, you know, the Drew character is a bit of a guru himself. You know, he's researched a bunch of stuff, and you know, he has a lot of knowledge about demons. So I figured that whatever was in the script had to be something that like a normal person would be able to find on their own. So a lot of Googling, you know, digging up old books and, you know, seeing what old books have to say about, you know, various demon names. And, you know, that's so all the demon names in there in the movie are in fact real, or, you know, come from, you know, primary sources. But of course, you know, it being a movie, we take certain liberties and with, you know, the rules for a demon and what a demon can do. But I'm sort of, you know, I suppose indirectly making fun of the whole idea that all you need to do is say a certain prayer to get rid of a demon, and then and that's all that it takes, which I've always thought is a very silly thing from, you know, exorcism movies. And spoiler alert for anybody who's listening, it doesn't work out for them in the movie. They think that it does, and then of course they're horribly wrong. Just sort of like further playing to the fact that these guys are amateurs and have no idea how to get rid of the demon that's holding them hostage.
Yeah, I just love how all that works. So what is your pinnacle? What is your favorite demon possession movie? If you only could add to one.
Favorite demon possession movie? Well, I would say it's a toss-up between The Exorcist and The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Mm. I like them both for different reasons. I like The Exorcist because just all around it's an amazing film with such, you know, just it's so well written, so well executed. But I like The Exorcism of Emily Rose because what it does is it casts doubt on the whole idea of whether or not a person can be possessed by an evil spirit, and sort of forces you to sort of examine the difference between somebody who has a mental illness and somebody who's actually demon possessed, or both. And I think that's a very authentic, very real aspect of that, of this phenomena. So.
Yeah, and I think like your film has like the sort of the core of what makes those kind of films great is the fact that your film isn't just about like demons, it's about this friendship between these two guys. And you're as invested in the demon story as you are the friendship story. And I really liked how that plays out throughout the film as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in movies, especially independent horror, you really need to care about the characters, and that's one of the things that drove me in this. I wanted to write a movie that, first of all, I would want to see, but I think that, you know, you gotta care before you scare, and if your audience doesn't feel like they can relate to the characters in some way, shape, or form, then they're not going to care whenever bad things happen to them. And the last thing I want an audience doing is dismissing, you know, horrific, torturous things that are happening to our lead characters.
Yeah, that's a great sort of like phrase. You got to care before you scare. It totally like locks in. So are you religious at all? And did your personal beliefs impact this at all? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'm a Christian. I would say that I am pretty religious in that respect. So my worldview absolutely is very much written into the movie. I'm also a recovering Catholic. I was raised Catholic, and you know, the Max and Drew character had a pretty traumatic experience in their Catholic upbringing, and that was very much influenced by the Catholic school that I went to. In fact, the scary nun, or school marm, as I call her, in the movie is influenced by my grade school principal. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, I believe in demons, and I try and like weave some of that in there as much as possible. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy the exorcism genre so much, is because it deals with you know, it's a subject matter that is about eternal things, or that forces the audience to consider eternal things. It's not just, you know, a slasher film or, you know, torture porn sort of movie.
Yeah, and I think that comes across in how you deal with the subject matter too. I mean, you're very serious with it, and I think that helps. So the film definitely has the scares, but something I didn't expect was the more comedic interludes in the film, which like totally blew my mind. That allows the audience to kind of decompress a bit. How was that always sort of in script? And I love how those moments where people behave exactly how you expect them to behave on the internet, as terrible as it is.
Yeah. Well, I think the comedy is very much who I am. I really love cracking jokes, and I really love writing comedy I don't write comedy scripts generally, but I do love writing jokes into my scripts. So that was just something that was always there that I really just had a lot of fun with. And then so if you go back and you watch the movie a second time and only read the chat feed text,
I did that last night.
Yeah, on like the screens, and whenever we cut to the webcast view and you see like what people are saying, I can only take partial credit for that, because what I did was I wanted to make sure that we had like a really wide range of voices, and that there are quite a few voices in there. So I gave a little bit of direction to my 15 friends who I had come over to the house. We watched through every scene and then used a shared Google Sheet, and everyone would write in the chat text that would appear. And it's everything from like people who believe that the show is real to like the trolls. And you've got the vile and you've got the comedic, and it's all there. And it was really a great way of showing sort of the diverse community of the internet and the fans who are watching the show.
Yeah, that was something that for me sort of like I was laughing so hard at the first screening, like I missed some of the movie because I would like pick on one of the pieces in the chat and I would just start laughing because like the trolls are there, and you don't have the people that are just do this or do that. You have like the really hardcore like trolls. You have some right-wing stuff in there. Like I was just like, oh my God. And then I watched it again last night to prep for this, and I was just like, I caught even more of it, and it was just like, wow, this is like super tough. So,
yeah, it still cracks me up because I mean, like I said, I didn't write most of it. I've got some sick and hilarious friends that really brought some great stuff to the movie.
Well, it definitely works. So a great factoid I read was that in the making of this film, you worked with a nonprofit called Homeboy Industries. Can you tell us a little about the organization and how they got involved in the film? I think that was super rad when I read about that.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked about that because it's something that I haven't had a chance to talk about much. Homeboy Industries is a organization that's based in LA. They're a non-for-profit that helps give people who come out of like gangs a second chance. And they do everything from placing them into jobs to helping them remove their gang tattoos, and even getting them into acting. And we had the kitchen scene of the spectators in the kitchen scene in the movie is mostly Homeboy actors, and they were awesome. And it first of all, it's such a great organization. They've got I think a chain of bakeries around LA. You can and it's all run by the people who are in Homeboy, the people who are getting a second chance at life. And then the actors who I had in the movie were great. They were professional. They were amazing, sweet people, and I really had a great time working with them. And I really hope we get to work together again. And I would also encourage other filmmakers to reach out to them because there's some great talent there. I actually found out about them. I actually found out that they had actors through my casting director. Now I had known about Homeboy before, but I didn't know that they had actors. So my casting director, thankfully, is the one who set me up with that, and I was elated. I thought it was great.
Yeah, the guys in the kitchen were like some of my favorites when you cut back to them because they had some pretty good zingers in there. I was just like, okay, those guys, yeah, they're hilarious. So they definitely have the chops, which hearing that makes it even better that they got their sort of foot in the door there. So I want to get a little bit into spoiler territory just to say that in case somebody hasn't watched the film yet. So the ending of the film, it's a big swing, it's pretty amazing, and it pays off. So why did you decide to end on the not so happy note? And I have to admit, I love that you did that.
I guess I have a pretty dark sensibility about myself when it comes to my storytelling. And this might have something to do with the fact that I just love horror so much, but I did want it to end on a dark note, and I wanted to be ominous and just force people to sort of reflect a little bit on like the reality of the world that we live in. I think it's actually very realistic the way that it ends.
Yeah.
The Max gets his blue check mark. and he smirks a little bit at the fact that he gets the blue check mark, which completely, you want to believe that this guy has changed by the end of the movie, when in fact he's not. The main character who changes is Drew. Drew finally realizes that he has to get away from this guy, and Max is quite unironically the one sitting in the possession chair. He is the devil in the end, and he represents like everything that is wrong with our culture today, where people are willing to do the most grotesque things online for attention just to get that blue check mark. And when they finally get it, they, like a true sociopath, like smile at the idea. So that is Max represents sort of like the worst in all of us, or certainly what we're all capable of doing. And then, the way that, when we cut to our main on ends credit sequence, you see like the world is burning, which is, horribly prescient, because I wasn't planning on what's happening in the world today to happen whenever I made the movie, but look where we are now. I mean, we're not far off from that.
Speaking of that, I know at the Fantastic Fest cut, it seemed very sort of like the president in there was very Trumpish. Was that changed at all? Because like
no,
the voice seemed a little different.
No, the voice never changed. I was kind of going for just like evergreen Oval Office president look. Yeah. I wasn't really trying to make it look like anyone in particular. I remember whenever we made the short film, I was at a festival and somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, I totally see your commentary about how the devil is Trump, and the people are fighting back against him," or something to that degree. And I was like, "Oh yeah." But I mean, like, I wrote that movie when Obama was president, and I wasn't. I had no idea that Trump was going to even be nominated, much less become our president. So, I'm just happy people can watch the movie and make or glean from it what they want and make it their own, and that's really what's most important, because my goal has always been to entertain people. And if you see meaning in the movie that is meaningful to you, then great. But the dirty little secret is I never really planned for it to be anybody in particular.
Yeah, I still kind of love how it ends though with that, because you don't expect it, and the way you kind of plant the seeds in there throughout the film, and then the kid just goes ballistic at the end. Like I remember everybody just sitting at Fantastic Fest after it ended, and the kid going crazy, and everybody just looking around like, did we just watch that? Is that? I don't think anybody really in there kind of was prepared for what they were about to sit through, and it was just so much fun. Like I have to commend you on that. It's such a great, fun sort of horror film that just works, does what it needs to do, and it's super effective. And I just thank you for making this. That was so great, and I'm glad other people.
Oh, you're so welcome. Oh, you're so welcome.
So thank you for chatting with me today.
My pleasure. Yeah, it's a real pleasure. I look forward to seeing your interview online.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic that we're talking on the internet, just like like in the.
Oh yeah, I know. The whole Cleansing Hour is a very meta film, isn't it? Like if you're an audience watching the Cleansing Hour, you're an audience watching a webcast.
And
very
then
self-reflective.
The came out in quarantine that was kind of similar to your film too, which was kind of weird. Like the movie about the seance. And I was just like, wait a minute, that's kind of like Cleansing Hour.
Right. Yep. It's the timing is very strange. It really kind of couldn't be a better time to release a movie like this. So I really lucked out with Shudder.
Yeah, and Halloween's perfect for it. And you are right up there with Mortuary Collection. So it's like two of my favorites from last year just hitting hard. So, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Dan. I hope you have a great weekend.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.